Hello, welcome everybody. This is Signal and Insights, the podcast. I am Gabriel Velez, the CEO of Crowd Answers, and this is the show where we sit down with the people shaping how businesses grow, sell, and make smarter decisions. My guest today has spent more than 20 years in medical device marketing. 30 plus product launches, multiple patents, big names like Hospira and then Supply Sirona, and then he left to build MedVance, an agency that does one thing: help biotech and medtech startup bridge the gap between great innovation and actual clinical adoption. Because in medtech, getting clear is the easy part, getting used is where it gets hard. Tad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gabriel, for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about your background. You spent 20 plus years inside big medical device companies, Hospira, then Supply Sirona, ICU Medical, and then left to start MedVance. What made you walk away from the Fortune 500 world to build an agency for startups? Yes.
In college, my father was a physician. I've got two brothers who are physicians. And in college, I initially was in pre-med. And about halfway through my junior year, my two brothers and I invented a flexible shave biopsy device, basically a flexible scalpel, used primarily in dermatology. And so I had the lightest course load because I was in pre-med. So I went ahead and worked with the company that licensed the technology. And Gabrielle, the bug bit. I realized I really liked the product development, really understanding the clinical need, the gap in the solutions that they had, and being able to develop a solution to address those challenges. And so switched my major to business. Got my degree, Bachelor of Business, and started in corporate America, primarily in the medtech sector. So during that 20 plus years, launched over 30 products, primarily in dental and medical. I've received 7 U.S. patents on medical devices, and really realized that there was a gap after this 20 plus years, that companies that are established, have strong resources, are really able to go ahead and develop and launch new medical device products. But where there was a gap was small startups, the incubators, the medtech, the tech transfers out of the universities, which is where I got my experience. And so really realized that there was an opportunity there to, as you had mentioned, bridge that gap between innovation and clinical adoption. So started the agency about 2.5 years ago with 2 other people as founders that are in that space. One, Carissa Morin, who deals with our creative aspects, so graphics, all of that. And then Kelsey Koff, who does all of our digital and media. And so the 3 of us have been working and building our team out as we move forward and help medtech and biotech companies succeed.
That's an amazing story. And I imagine that it also allows you to basically delve your creativity, and working with those smaller or not too large companies also allows you to basically bring them a lot of guidance in how they can fine tune the product, right?
Correct. Yes. Most technologies are developed by those who are, biomedical engineers, engineers, doctors, those in the clinical and med tech space, but they're primarily focused on the innovation itself, the technology. And where they really sometimes have needs is understanding that market fit analysis, as you had discussed earlier, mentioned earlier, and really the importance of understanding the solution and the way to market that to the clinical environment. And not only the clinicians that use it, but in healthcare facilities, you have the C-suite. So those are the executives, the CFO, the CEO, and there's a lot of competing priorities there. So they may want to move forward with adopting a new technology, which is great for the startup medtech company, but often it gets diluted over the months and years until they can make a decision because of those competing priorities. So what we do is help them with that market fit analysis, not only look at the technology or the innovation itself, but also look at ways to position it with the C-suite at healthcare facilities and systems to be able to go ahead and convey the clinical aspect, but also the benefit to the facility itself in better patient outcomes, in reduced costs and reduced potential errors, and so really it's that full scope positioning to understand that need and to position it correctly.
What is this market fit analysis on a medical space different to other industries? And why do so many smart founders skip it right up until it costs them?
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot of similarities across the board, whether it's commercial, retail, medical, and that is that Venn diagram that shows the clinical need or the customer need, and then the technology itself. And where those two overlap is really where you want to position the company, from the messaging, from the positioning of the product within the marketplace. But when you understand the customer, the big difference with a med tech is that it's not just the clinician who's using the product. As I'd mentioned just recently, basically it's also the other stakeholders in the healthcare systems. So it's the CFO, it's procurement. There's a higher regulatory hurdle a lot of the times. And then, of course, there's the CEO within the facility that makes the ultimate decision. So it's those competing priorities. So as they develop the technology, yes, they have to focus on the clinical aspect, but they also have to position it and make a strong case for the benefit to the facility and the healthcare market itself to be able to get all stakeholders within the healthcare facility involved and on board to get success.
To in a certain degree, it's basically created a compelling story that fit every stakeholder in the right way at the right moment, right?
Correct. Yeah, and a great example of that is there was a company that developed a light that would go in the operating room that would reduce the bacteria and virus load within the operating room, reducing the risk of potential hospital-acquired infections, which ultimately result in 70 to 80,000 deaths per year in the United States. So they developed this technology, and it was about 30,000 per OR. So, say a facility had 6 operating rooms, you're talking $250,000 investment. Well, that gets into the capital expenditure route, and it gets into the capital budgets. And so now all of a sudden you're getting the CFO, the CEO involved. Do they buy this technology for the OR? Do they go ahead and get the new MRI machine or the new robotics for procedures? What exactly do they do? And so what we did, and looking at this and understanding those challenges, is we recommended a leasing approach. So the idea would be they could get all of their operating rooms, this new technology, and cover it under their operational budget, which the operating room managers and directors had control over. And so maybe it was couple thousand dollars a month that they were able to cover in their operating room operational budget, and therefore able to afford the technology. In using this approach, we saw an increase in sales that directly grew them. They were about 160% growth in just a couple of years because of that adoption of that technology, and then the communication piece, the marketing communication that went around that.
That makes sense. Yeah, and that just happened because you understand their pains. I mean, their pains of the stakeholders, and basically fix the problem here in order to make the investment affordable and
Correct. Yeah.
basically convenient for the organization. That makes sense. Let me push a little about these entrepreneurs. So because there are hundreds of medtech startups, all maybe claiming similar or the same clinical advantages. And startup budget is tight. So when a founder says, I will do marketing after I have revenue, what do you actually tell them?
Well, I think it's short-sighted to do that from the perspective of they have to build that story early on, not only for the end users, so to be able to get into the marketplace, but also to be able to get investors along the way. One of the services we provide our clients, especially very early stage clients, is to help them with the raising capital. Investors, corporate investors, foundations, and funds. The lab that we are working with, the one that you had mentioned, we're helping them go ahead and identify and build the necessary packet to be able to present to investors to get success in the marketplace. So it's really a holistic approach, starting early, building that story, building that collateral, building that communication pieces to be effective. And what we tell people is once you have the innovation and you've worked out that the technology will work, even though you're still in the process of maybe developing that, improving it out, it's important to bring in marketing, starting with that market fit analysis and then moving forward from there. And that's important too, just from the perspective of the testing. So they've got this new solution. Obviously, because it's highly regulated, they're going to be doing a lot of testing moving forward. The testing that they do should be influenced, obviously, from a scientific and regulatory standpoint, but also from a marketing standpoint. So as they develop that testing, they can go ahead and understand how to convey the value proposition to the end users and build that into their testing.
That makes sense. And then basically they're um, gaining advantage from the very beginning, and basically it converts into a virtuous cycle, right? So, yeah, let's talk about the Chicago research arm.
Sure.
So, um, 300 clients with zero zero marketing. So you got a client, this Chicago area university research arm, and they hit 300 clients, I think, in 40 countries with no
Right.
marketing.
Yeah.
What's actually broken when you came in, and what's the play to scale them?
Sure. Well, it's the clinical immunology lab at Rosalind Franklin University. And what they do is they're actually part of the university and still are. And they've developed primarily reproductive testing. So around the reproductive area. And what they wanted to do is they started developing additional tests for, B1 testing, nutrients. And so they broadened their testing scope. But in the 20 years that they've been around, they have grown and done quite well simply because they're part of the university. And therefore, a lot of the people working in the lab, supporting the lab, are on the lecture circuit, they're teachers. And so it organically grew over that time. And what they did is they realized that as they advanced beyond just reproductive testing and reproductive immunology, but started branching out into other immunology testing, that they really had an opportunity to grow the business. And so their goal is to double sales in about 5 years. And they realized in order to be able to do that, they really need to be able to focus on marketing. And they're again conveying the robustness of the testing, the test results, and the ability for clinicians to be able to use these test results to be able to better provide care for their patients. And so we've helped them from social media. We've developed a website that should be launching fairly soon. And with that, we'll do SEO, we'll do Google ads, and we'll really focus on getting that name of the lab out in front of those that would use it and benefit from their testing. So it's a long-term plan. We're basically acting as their functional marketing group. So we're bringing our entire team, the graphics development, the digital and strategy to bear to support them as they move forward and rely on us to do everything from creating a small graphic for internal use all the way to email marketing campaigns out to the marketplace.
Thank you for sharing. And that's definitely a very flexible approach that is based on the understanding on basically on their needs and pains. And let's talk about a little bit about this fractional model
Okay.
for medtech. Because MedVance runs a fractional marketing group, so startups use you as much or as little as they need, right? So for a pre-commercial medtech company that can afford a full marketing team, what does working with you actually look like a month to month?
Sure. Well, we determine what their goals are based on their current marketing approach, or what their goals are if they're just starting out for the first year or 2 years post launch. And then we build a strategy around that. And then we provide the strategy and all of the elements. Again, the creatives, the digital, the media, to go ahead and not only develop but implement the marketing plan that we build with them. The real advantage is that they get this expertise of a full marketing team for less than the cost of hiring a marketing assistant or marketing coordinator full time. So, a lot of our clients will say, this is our spend, this is what we can do each month or each quarter, year, whatever it may be. And then we build a plan according to that budget and then are with them. We have regular meetings, typically weekly or bi-monthly meetings to gauge how we're doing, adjustments that need to be made. Like as an example, with the lab that I had just mentioned, they've had some speakers out on the circuit, so we're focusing on B1 testing right now for them. But they'll reach out and say, "Hey, we just had one of our key opinion leaders talking about reproductive testing that they've just developed or enhanced, and we would like you to go ahead and do an email out to all of our subscribers to learn about this new approach to that testing and try and get people engaged." Um, the approach we generally use is what we call the ATAR principle, which is awareness, trial, acceptance, and then repeat. And that's really our focus. So with the lab, we're focusing on that awareness piece with their existing reproductive immunology testing. And then we'll be focusing even more on that awareness piece as they branch out into the other testing.
And if I ask you what kind of clients turn to be the best fit for MedVance or the ones that you enjoy working the most?
I think it's the one who have a maybe at least a very rudimentary understanding of marketing and a clear understanding of their technology. So if they understand what their technology does, what challenges and problems it addresses in the clinical environment, that just makes it so much easier for us to be able to build content and strategy around conveying it out to the clinical users and again, the stakeholders at healthcare facilities.
That makes sense. And when you basically have like a successful story with a client, what is the best way for you to communicate that with potential clients, or how do usually clients find their way to you?
Usually it's through Google. We were just nominated as one of the top 10 marketing agencies by MedTech Business Review. We were last year and this year also. So there's an awareness piece around that. We go to seminars and panel discussions around this specific area as it relates to MedTech challenges and getting that technology out there. And so really it's focusing on where are those that are in startup phase, working with incubators to go ahead and provide our services to them as needed.
Let's talk a little bit about the future of medtech in marketing. So the device market hitting toward, I think it's 590 billion. and CVC money is reshaping which startups survive, and AI is everywhere. Where does medtech marketing go in the next 2 to 3 years? And what does the startups that is positioned right look like?
Well, I think it really is because of AI, primarily AI in medical device development, pharmaceuticals from the biotech standpoint, and then devices. As AI is being used to find, reams of, of data and be able to go through that and find opportunities for pharmaceutical, biotech, medtech improvements. Companies are stepping up, individuals are stepping up, realizing that there's opportunities to bring these new technologies to the clinical market. And so it's exciting from that perspective. And then to be able to use AI, our agency does use AI primarily as a tool to look at a lot of data and to be able to drill it down and come up with potential content and solutions to be able to go ahead and market. But it's a tool. It provides us the raw data, as it were, and then we go ahead and parse through that to find the best data, build a strategy around that, and then present it to our clients and hopefully implement that so we can get their product out on the marketplace as quickly as possible. One of the key challenges too with any med tech, and in the future I think it's going to continue to be a challenge, is procurement. So it's going through CMS and getting codes to be able to go ahead and for facilities to be able to purchase the technology to implement it. And so that's kind of a balance. You've got the regulatory and procurement side and payment side, as well as the innovation side. So that's where we're able to come in, I think, and provide a reality check, as it were, to these startups, and to be able to bring some experience that will help them avoid some of those challenges.
When you have a client who have a good product, but you find flares, right? You find that this product is not perfect and um, have like areas of improvement. What is your approach in this case for them?
Sure. I think we're having honest discussions. If we can have honest discussions with the key stakeholders at the startup and convey what the challenges are, we can usually work together to fill in those gaps if there are gaps, say in testing, in features, and go ahead and address those and move it forward. In the dentistry side, one of the patents I got, this was years ago, but developed a new X-ray device for a dental product. So the idea would be that there were several components that would have to be configured to be able to do a full mouth dental X-ray. And it could be confusing, and if there was a mistake made, the dental assistant who took the X-rays would of course have mud on their face. The dentist would be behind because they would have to retake those X-rays, and then the patient is obviously frustrated too. So we're able to develop a new system to be able to address that. And then as we were moving forward, we found that there were specific areas that the device needed to be adjusted for. One of the example is a hygienic sleeve that would go around the digital sensor for X-rays. So we were able to include that in the kit. So when a dental practice bought a kit of these unigrips, they were called, they would also have these hygienic sleeves included. And it was just kind of an afterthought because we knew that that would be a challenge for them. And in so doing, we actually found that there was a market for this. And that product became product of the year the second year that we launched it. And it was an ancillary add-on to this kit. So it was really understanding and getting in the heads of the clinicians that are using it and understanding their pain points, their challenges, and then using that information to develop the product.
That's great. And yeah, I see, a medical devices as on the culprit of product usability, right? Because all the time you need to focus on how this product gonna be used by someone who basically has been trained, of course, but do will like remotely, and in some cases in a different scenarios with a lot of things going on at the same time. So I feel that your support and recommendations in this case is super important, and I also think that you have many examples and stories to tell
Sure.
around that, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, given my foray into product development, specifically around med tech, with the invention that my brothers and I had, I really have a passion for it because to develop a solution that allows for a better clinical uh, options and then better patient outcomes is just fantastic. I mean, medtech really has, and biotech really have the option to change and enhance people's lives in ways that, consumer products usually can't quite rise to that level. I mean, everybody knows of a product that was invented on the marketplace that makes cooking easier, house chores, whatever that may be, easier. But when you can impact somebody's life and help a company develop and market a product that's really going to fundamentally change people's lives from a healthcare perspective, that's just fantastic. That's what drives everybody on our team. Why we get up each morning, and the excitement that is, throughout the company. We feel that every day.
That's a beautiful reason why you step up every morning, because at the end everything what you do and your clients do is basically they're improving lives. Let me ask you one last question.
Sure.
What recommendations you will give an entrepreneur to who has an idea and right now it's a little bit stuck because maybe he tried to talk with a couple doctors or hospitalities, or basically he's right now a little bit stuck. What recommendation will you give him?
I would probably recommend the market fit analysis, doing one of those. Typically, it can be done for a couple of $1,000s, but what it does, if you have the best product in the world, the best clinical solution, but if it can't be adopted because of challenges in the marketplace, reimbursement, procurement issues, or the C-suite is not going to adopt it because of costs or whatever it may be, going to have a hard time bringing that to market effectively. So we recommend very strongly that very early, even if it's on the back of a napkin, you've developed it, you've talked to a few people, and you want to start investing some money into developing the technology, is to do that market fit analysis and learn very early if in fact it makes sense. And then if it does and you're moving forward, to make sure that as you're developing it, as you're doing the research, that you're doing robust research that helps build that marketing story.
That's great. A culmination for this podcast. So research and never stop asking the client and improve based on that. That this has been great. The way you frame it in medtech, clearance is the easy part. Adoption is the real battle, and this is one with storytelling and market fit. Not just a list of features. That's a sharp take, and a lot of founders need to hear it. Where people can find you and MedVance if they want to learn more or reach out.
Sure. You can reach out to through our website, which is medvancemarketing.com, and that's MEDVANCE marketing, all one word.com. And it'll take you to our site. There's a contact form there that you can fill out, and somebody will get back to you quickly to answer your questions and find out how we might be able to help.
That's amazing. And that's a wrap on this one. Big thanks to Tad for laying out what it actually takes to get a medtech innovation adopted. If you got something of it, do me a favor, hit subscribe hit a thumbs up and drop a comment. And I'll see you in the next episode of Signal Insights. Take care, everybody, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.